When someone says to you that they know themselves, what exactly comes to mind for you? When someone says to you that they know themselves, what exactly comes to mind for you? Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this month it is all about self-love. We are well into the second week of the year, and the excitement of those resolutions and plans and actions and execution, I hope, are still rife in the air. However, in all this excitement, it is wise to remember that nothing will work unless you do. You heard me right. Nothing will work unless you do. And the you here is about the self, the true self, the person that you are. It is that true identity. It is, most of the time, we don't know who we are. So it is the person that we are, the self-awareness. We need to understand why we are behaving in a certain way. So unless you figure it out, unless you do, you work out, nothing else is going to work for you. So this January, I invite you to love yourself. And in loving yourself, you have to understand who you are first. Remember in our last episode, I said, just like in a romance episode, you get to know the other person and then you fall in love with them. I'm encouraging you to know yourself. Dr. Tasha Urish, in her sample of taking out 1,000 people at a time in different groups, she came out to the fact that only 15% are truly self-aware. So I want you to be in that 15%. I want you to aspire to be in that 15% if you're not already there. And once you are there to love yourself, you'll appreciate where the love comes in. And in this time of taking you through this self-love series, I have set up 4 specific sessions for you. And in these sessions, it's all about loving yourself. In our last episode, we did the inner self-love, and the takeaways were amazing. The first takeaway was connect with your inner self. Just get to know who you are. And here we talked about your personality or characteristic. We talked about your mind, your mindset. What language are you speaking to self? We then jumped on to write about your story. Now, when you write your story in the past tense, you look at this individual and you ask yourself, am I able to fall in love with this person? Who is this person? Who are they? You begin to understand yourself perhaps in the third person. You start to see yourself 3D when you write your story, when you write your past story. I encouraged you then to start writing your story from today. Now that you know what you know, because the past is the past, it's gone. It cannot be reclaimed unless through lessons learned. So the person that you are today, that you wake up and want to be, that's the story you're going to write with the lessons learned from the story of the past. That was our second takeaway. Our third takeaway was about embracing that you are unique. Your DNA is just yours. There's nobody else who has that. You don't need to fit in. Break out of this mold. In fact, it is said that if you walk into a forest and you find a path, that's somebody else's path. Create your own path. Go in there and embrace your uniqueness. You do not need to fit in because you are you. You need to get to know that person and fall in love with them. In this episode, we'll be looking at loving your authentic self. And today's question, as I had posed in the beginning, is what comes to mind when somebody says to you that they know themselves? Something to think about, and I'd love to hear from you in the active chat. In fact, I'll just check and just see whether we are live. Let's just have a look right there and just check that we are live and we're coming clear. Yes, we have been live for the last 5 minutes, and I want to welcome you all to Tuesday Talks at 3. Today we are talking about the authentic self. This is the second episode of this month's series of self-love. Now, in our next episode, we'll be talking about priority self-love, and then we will move on to the last episode of the month, and it will be about number one self-fan, your number one fan. We need to be loving ourselves, and this is going to come very clearly. And so today, as we go into authentic self, I want us to look at issues about worthiness, issues about value. When we value something, it is because we know enough about it. Just look around you. Look at your surroundings. Is it something that you can hold? Is it tangible? Is it something that's not tangible? What is it that you value, that you have some worth to it? And why have you placed this value and worth to it? It's because you know enough about it. And this suggests that there are pros and there are cons that make you make that decision on how you feel about it. It's all about feelings at the end of the day. You need to accept that the feelings you have with you are inside you and they're intrinsic. That feeling that comes out as in autopilot is the one that you need to be paying attention to. And in this case, we value the worth of this thing, whatever it is. And I'm just looking at our chat, and I'm looking forward to a few comments here. I can see Jane Kuvuna is with us. Hi, Jane, good to see you. Great to see you back. Wow, long time, but you're back. Yes, Daniel, where have you been? Good to see you, Daniel. And Jane, you are affirming that you are unique. Yes, you are unique. There's nobody else like you. And here, we need you to place the value, the worthiness in you. This is authentic self. Just being your authentic self, you have to understand what it is that makes you. What are your pros and your cons? So when we are saying that we value something and we know so much about it to make a decision, to then conclude that it is worthy of our time. So is it a relationship then that you value? Is it a person that you value? Is it a thing that you value? Is it an environment that you value? Is it an experience that you, whatever it is, you have weighed the pros and the cons. There is nothing perfect. Everything has a pro and it has a con, whatever it is. So let's turn the light on ourselves. Let's just turn the light on ourselves. And welcome, Kola Onyango. Great to see you here. Great to see you today. We're talking about authentic self, and we're on the episode of just moving with self-love in a very gentle way. Last episode was about your inner self, how you can love your inner self. Today it's about loving your authentic self. But let's see where the authentic self comes out. So we are turning the light on ourselves. How do you know that you know yourself? Did you hear that question? How do you know that you know yourself? It's automatic that at this point, we go back to self-awareness, because we've been talking about self-awareness. Then you can say that I know myself. If you can see the question that we had as we started out, when someone says to you that they know themselves, what exactly comes to mind for you? Again, it's self-awareness. You try to say that this person understands themselves, they are accepting of themselves, they are so aware of themselves, and this is the kind of person that I want to be connecting with. So yes, we go back to self-awareness, and that's how we say we know ourselves. And then we explore our emotions. We explore our emotions. What kind of a person am I? Am I a happy person, angry person? Am I an optimist, a pessimist? Am I a decision maker? Am I an analyst? What am I? And then we transcend into emotional intelligence, where we understand our emotions, we understand other people's emotions, then we manage that relationship. And right there in the middle is an intrinsic sense of self. The fact that you can bring self-awareness, your emotions, and emotional intelligence together. I love to call it a sweet spot, but a little bit of that later. But right there, we have an intrinsic sense of self. You understand self. Kola Onyango, you say you're a great coach indeed. Glad to learn from you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So when we're talking about you understanding yourself and having that intrinsic self. We want to further along it and bring it into the space of pros and cons. And as we take it further along, we want to be able to see what our characteristic traits are. Remember, like I said last episode, we touched on character, mind, and personality. Great to see you there, Maria and Jerry. Welcome. We're talking about the loving, authentic self today. So right now we've gotten to the point where we're talking about the pros and the cons, the pluses and the minuses, the strengths, the weaknesses, whatever it is the light and the dark. So we are looking at our characteristic traits. Last episode, we touched on character, mind, and personality. Character, mind, personality, where we said character is the person that you are when nobody else is watching. You're just alone. Things are happening when you're alone. Maybe you're speaking to somebody on the phone, there's nobody in the environment, and your reactions are true. And as your reactions happen, you start to be real. And this is the authentic self. You cannot move away from this person. Coach Alice, great to see you. Karibu sana. We are talking about the authentic self and loving the authentic self. So in our last episode, that is what the character was, the person that you are when nobody is watching. You're doing something, nobody's watching. What is your reaction? That is the character we're talking about. And today we are just diving deeper into that and looking at the pros and the cons of that character. Last episode, we also talked about your mindset, your attitude. Therefore, you have to be true to self, and that is being authentic. And then your personality. What kind of person are you? Personality here, we were talking about more of the positive stuff. Are you a happy person, a sad person, that kind of thing. So take a moment now and take a piece of paper. I can see Kola Onyango is saying, can you elaborate more about the two words, authentic self? Fantastic, good question. Now, authentic self is being your true self. If you remember in our first episode, we defined the self as the true identity, the person that you are, the person inside that you are. Now, if you take those three areas, Onyango, and you look at your characteristic, the person that you are when nobody is watching, you know, all those negative aspects in your life will come to the fore because nobody's watching. You don't feel judged. You're feeling at home with who you are. That is your character. At times, that specific character is exposed to the outside world. But for the sake of understanding and answering your question, just authentic self, we're looking at the character, the person that you really truly are to yourself when you are alone in solitude, that person. Your mind, your attitude and your mindset, that's what we're looking at when you look at your mind. What is going through your head? What kind of words are you using? When you see opportunities out there in the world, are you ready to say, yes, I can? Or are you saying that that is actually not for me? I could never make it. I cannot measure up to it. What are you telling yourself? And then your personality. Your personality, again, is where we're talking. What kind of person are you? Are you a happy person, a sad person, optimistic, pessimistic? Yeah. So when we're looking at authentic self, and we're going to dig deeper and dive deeper into it in a minute, we are talking about the self, which is the true identity. And Onyango, it is not about the life that you're living that is false, the fake life, the one that you're seeing your friend is living, and therefore you want to measure up to your friend's life, to your friend's ordeals, to your friend's values, to your friend's activities. You know, the peer pressure that we are all subjected to in this life. I'm talking about your life, because even as you follow that other person, they're in pursuit of their authentic self. They are trying to see who they are, Onyango. I mentioned a statistic that only 15% of people are truly self-aware. So that person that you're choosing to follow, how do you know that they know themselves? And that is why I asked the question when we started. When someone says to you that they know themselves, what exactly comes to mind for you? Things like, do they really know themselves? Do I know myself? What does that mean? What is it for you? So authentic self, to answer your question in summary, is a true identity. The truth that you tell yourself. When you're faced with a situation, what comes out from you? You have to be true to yourself. You can lie to the entire world, Onyango, but you cannot lie to yourself because you have to live with self. I hope I have answered your question. And now we're just going to jump straight into the little task that I'd like you to do. Take a moment and take a piece of paper and a pen. Take a piece of paper and a pen. It's actually quite simple to do this. You can even do it on your phone. I want you to divide the page into two. And for the sake of this exercise, we will have one side labeled good and the other side labeled bad. One side labeled good and the other side labeled bad. So I'm imagining now that you've already drawn that line across down top to bottom, and you have one side good and one side bad. And I want you to populate 3 good and 3 bad characteristic traits that you have. So 3 good and 3 bad. If those are perhaps too many for this particular session right now, you can add the other 2 later. But for now, take a moment and put in 1. We have a little exercise we will do to help us understand this authentic self we're talking about. Yes, Onyango, I've answered your question. Thank you so much for coming back. So by now, you've already populated your page. Yeah. Now, we've all had these conversations where we are seeking counsel. You know, when you go to your friend, when you go to your peer, when you go to an elder, when you go to a mentor, a coach. We've all had this conversation somewhere along in our lives, in our different seasons. We seek counsel and advice. And then you hear somebody say, be yourself. In that situation, my dear, just be yourself. You can't go wrong. But to be yourself, that is a very common phrase. However, it must be qualified by who am I? You need to understand who you are first so that you can be yourself. It's actually as simple as that. Now, we are a sum of our light and our dark sides. Our light and our dark sides. That's why you had 2 sides of that paper. You had your light side, which is your good side, and then you had your dark side, which is now your bad side. Now, that is how I'm correlating to what you've put on that piece of paper. Now, we must always strive to know both sides. Only knowing and engaging with your good side is a recipe for disaster. You need to know your dark side. So that when you're telling somebody that you know who you are, you know your good and your bad side. You know which one comes to the fore when. The challenge about pushing your dark side underneath the carpet, which is what we mostly do because we don't want to deal with that side. The downside to that is that it will bubble to the top. It will. Something is going to trigger it. And in that instant, you will not have any control, or shall I say, you will not have any self-management of that characteristic. So you must strive to know both sides. We're talking about authentic self here. You must strive to know your good and your bad side. I mean, in interviews, we keep on being asked your strengths and your weaknesses. It is not because when you state your weakness, you're going to lose the opportunity. No, there's the opportunity to grow and strengthen that side so that we can grow it into a strength. So we must strive to know both sides. So I want you to pick just the one bad characteristic. Maybe you wrote down 3, but let's pick out one. One from the list. And I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. The first question that we are going to ask, oh, I can see Nancy has joined us. Karibu sana, Nancy, good to see you. We have missed you. We're talking about authentic self, your true identity. We are talking about who you are. And right now we have just taken a piece of paper and on one side written the good things about us, 3 of them. And on one side we've written 3 things about us that are not good. So we've written our good and bad, or our light and dark side. So I want us to pick one of the bad characteristics from that list. And I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is, what is the alternate characteristic? What is the alternate characteristic? So allow me to guide you. This dark side is your shadow. In other areas, it is referred to as your shadow. I want you to think about your shadow. Your shadow is forever following you. As long as there's light somewhere around, it's forever following you. And the only time that you struggle to see your shadow is when this light is right on top of you. That singular light is right on top of you. So I want you to use the example of standing outside in the open air, nature, just outside. And you watch how your shadow grows long and short, and to a certain point, you really cannot see your shadow. This is what follows you the entire time. Whatever you do, you cannot shake off your shadow. What you can do is manage that shadow. But first, you've got to identify it, yeah? So your shadow is your dark side. Your shadow is your con characteristic, the one that is not good. I hope I am clear. So let me just give you a further example. Maybe your dark side or your shadow is jealousy. Let us look at the word jealousy for the sake of this session to be able to understand this dark side and the alternate characteristic. So as I guide you, this jealousy stands there for you as something that is bad, that is your shadow. What is the alternate characteristic is the first question. The alternate characteristic here would be happy, pleased, proud. Because when you're feeling jealous, it is because something has happened in a certain environment that you are in, and that was your first feeling. We want to be able to self-manage. So we call it by the name that it is. And once we call it by the name that it is, we ask ourselves, what is the opposite or the alternate? How else could I be feeling in this particular situation? I could be feeling happy. I could be feeling pleased. I could be feeling proud. So that is what I mean by what is the alternate characteristic. So just pick that word, look at it, and write down an alternate characteristic. And there we have started with our first question. The second question is about the feeling. How do I feel when I am, whatever word you have? Mine, for the sake of this session, is jealous. So how do I feel when I am jealous? Now here, to guide you, I want you to consciously think of your body language. It might help to close your eyes and just think of your body language. What is So how are you feeling now? What is coming to mind? I want you to articulate it. You can open your eyes now. As you're feeling it, what came to mind? How was your body feeling? And as you're thinking about how your body was feeling, what words were coming to you? Where was your attention? What is the meaning for you? I want you to consider all these 4 areas. If you haven't opened your eyes, I'd like you to open your eyes now. For instance, perhaps you avoid eye contact when you're feeling jealous. Perhaps there's a thin film of sweat across your body. Perhaps your heart rate goes up. Perhaps your mouth goes dry. This is your body reacting. It is important for you to understand this feeling. This is how you feel when jealousy is overcoming you. What are the words that come to mind and where your attention goes? Perhaps the words are, why not me? Why them all the time? Are those the words that ring in your ears? Where does your attention go? Are you thinking about the things you don't have now suddenly because you have seen something happening in a certain environment and your response is what you don't have? Perhaps now you don't feel grateful for life. What meaning does it have for you? What meaning does it have for you? It could mirror the words we just used, like perhaps it's not for me, or why other people, but it comes down to things like failure, victim, you feel jinxed. All this from one word. Now, the importance of this second question of how do I feel when I am, you put in your word there, we are using jealous right now. The importance of this question is that it makes you aware for the next time. Remember, we are managing self. And as we manage self, it is very important that as we manage self, we understand our feelings and we understand how it's going to come on. Like if there's going to be a storm, you can see the clouds gathering, you can see them becoming dark, you can hear the wind, you can see the trees moving. So this is you now. How do you feel? I hope I am speaking to somebody. I really hope I am speaking to somebody. We want you to self-manage yourself so that you know who you are and you can celebrate your authentic self. You will then know when this feeling is coming over you. And like for those who subscribe to emotional intelligence, you will choose what emotion to exhibit at that moment. You will choose either to remain jealous, you are in control of it, or you will choose to be happy, pleased, proud, you are in control of it. You are in this emotion because you are controlling it, not because you are reacting. It is not engulfing you. You are now moving towards self-awareness. How can I change my narrative to the alternate? This is your third question. How can I change my narrative to the alternate? Well, it's by naming it and taming it. We've just named it in the beginning, the first question. We've just tamed it in the second question. Now, this may sound very simplistic, but you've seen how I've taken you through the first and the second question. But mark my words that a little awareness and action a day will tame it. But it takes you to do it. Are you true to yourself? Do you really want to have this change in your life? Or do you choose to remain a victim? Do you choose to remain in that mind of yours where your words go and they say, this never happens to me, I'm not a lucky person, I am jinxed? The choice is yours. This is what we call cognitive behavior. An option for you to be able to change that narrative to the alternate lies in your hands. You must make a decision to work on your shadow self so that you can know yourself. So that when you tell people that I know myself, you're talking about holistically, you know yourself, and then you know yourself of the individual parts. Holistically, you know yourself, and then you know yourself of the individual parts. Once you know yourself, then, only then, can you start living truthfully to self. And this is what is being authentic. Onyango, I hope you're still online and it is making sense now that in this Your Shadow, we have answered 3 questions that have brought you right down to the fact that you need to be authentic by embracing your light and your dark sides. Welcome, Martha Wanjohi. Good to see you here. Welcome, Kavi. Great to see you here, guys. We're talking about authentic self today. And today, in the authentic self, we are pulling from our last episode where we talked about the inner self. And we were referring to things like our characteristic, our mind, and our personality. So here we have covered just the value and the worth of self. We've covered the dark side and done a little exercise. Now we're talking about, we want to move on to the social support. Because we are social beings, we need to be around people. And therefore, choosing connections with people over material things is important. In today's world, I know there's a lovely and heavy, engaging debate about trust. Because once you lose trust, it is broken. It is very hard, in fact, next to impossible to have a relationship on the same level that you started on. So choosing connection with people over material things is not something that many people want to go out and do, because they do believe that once that they choose connections and they pour themselves out, the trust can be broken. Well, this is what life is, you know. Life is exciting, and I want you to thrive. You're only surviving by being afraid to choose connections. I want you to thrive and love yourself. In all this, remember, you are in control of your actions. You're not in control of somebody else's action. If they choose to break your trust, that is on them. You still remain a trustworthy person if that is your personality. So intentionally building a social support system lies in your hands. It lies in your hands. You need to build an inner circle, so to speak, around you, because you do need this inner circle. The number of people in this inner circle is totally up to you, but I encourage you not to have more than 6 or 7 people, because you want to have meaningful relationships. Bigger than that, then those are just people who are helping you to build into this inner circle. But this inner circle are your, like they say, your girls, your boys, they're your people. You need that inner circle. So let's prioritize relations and intentionally make them work for us, because we need a social support. This social support will build our authentic self, because these are people that we are handpicking, not to please us and not to please them. We are handpicking them so that we can have fulfilled lives, experiences. So you could choose to seek like-minded people to be in your inner circle, like-minded, and you're picking them perhaps based on their values, you're picking them based on their backgrounds, you're picking them based on their skill set. Whatever it is that you decide, you are in control. So seek like-minded people, or people who challenge you. Now, people who challenge you will push you to your limits. They will test your values. They will push your skill set. The decision is yours. Who do you want in your group? Because the objective for your inner circle or your group, it's you. You have an objective. And the people that you invite will listen to your objective like a business plan and decide whether they want to be part of it or not. So building this social support, that is one way you can do it. Another way is to listen and be present. This is how you can pick out the people for your inner circle. Listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We need to use them in that proportion. Listen and be present. Do not listen and form an answer. You want to be able to listen and understand and maintain eye contact, active listening. Someone else's perspective is a growth opportunity, because what you know, and you stand by. Also, what somebody else knows, they know, and they stand by. These are 2 truths. How about when we come together and we dialogue and we debate on these truths? It's a perception that we all have of a certain truth, but the perspective is a growth opportunity. This is what happens in an inner circle. It's a safe place to have that conversation, social support. I encourage you to listen to your gut every time you have an engagement with somebody. And even in our last episode, I encourage you that even when we go through these episodes, listen to your gut. Is this for you? Or can you be spending your time better in another platform? Because if it's not for you, it's not for you. This is what your gut is telling you. Listen to your gut. That sixth sense that we keep on ignoring in life is there for a reason. Listen to your gut. If you want to challenge your gut, then challenge it. Now we are moving closer to self-awareness. The third one is to respond with actions, not empty words. There are many times, and this one I use because I hear it all the time. Maybe for you, it's something different. And this is, you are in my prayers. When somebody is going through something and you say, you are in my prayers, are they really in your prayers? I encourage you to respond with actions. Once you say that you are in my prayers, stop and say a prayer for them. Just shoot a prayer. And indeed, they are in your prayers. Make it a point to write it down somewhere and do something about it. Be specific about what you're praying for this person. I'm using this as an example of what I have heard and then what I do. And I ask somebody, what would you like me to pray about for you if they haven't been clear about it? And I do it. And I make sure that I do it. Of course, it's not going to happen every day, but you've written it down and you've committed. You respond with actions, not empty words. Remember people in the things that you've said you're going to do and actually do them. And you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself. You're being authentic. Therefore, your word is your honor. When you say you're going to do something, do it because you're doing it unto self. And the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit. And it's something that you will always do, responding with actions. The last one is to be vulnerable. Now, if you're being vulnerable, again, it's opening up your heart. But it's not only opening up your heart to pour out, it's also to receive. Because as you pour out, what is coming in to fill up that cup, that heart? Think about that. So when you're being vulnerable, it's an exchange. And like I said in the beginning, someone else's perspective is a growth opportunity for you. So when you're being vulnerable, you're also receiving. Speak your truth in your vulnerability and allow yourself to walk away from toxic situations. This is what happens when you're being vulnerable and you're speaking your truth. So choose to be authentic in your engagements for a richer life. This is so important. Now we want to look at the alignment of these three things we've talked about as we come to the end of our session today. We looked at worth, and therefore worth was about value and looking at the pros and the cons. And we did a little exercise on that. We then took that exercise further into your shadow so that you could identify your light and your dark sides and question them. Know how it is that you feel. Know what it is that you aspire to be, and then applying it. And we talked about naming it and taming it so that we can be authentic. We then talk about connections. We are connecting with people because we are social beings. And in connecting with people, we are choosing our inner circle. And in that inner circle, there are certain areas we need to be paying attention to. We need to listen and be present. We need to respond with actions. We need to be vulnerable. We need to trust. It is work, but work that you're putting in for your authentic self, because that's how you're going to show up. You're going to show up in that way. So in the example I was giving Onyango earlier on, you want to live your life. You don't want to live somebody else's life. You will appreciate their life, maybe comment and contribute to their life, but you've got your own lane. You want to create your own path. So what is your life? Are you surviving? Are you thriving? To thrive, you need to know self, love self, and be authentic. So there is an alignment of your values to yourself. Whatever values that you have, we talked about your inner self. You want to be aligned to yourself. It becomes one thing. Now, once you realize that your values and yourself are intertwined, then you know you can live your life in this sweet spot. Because where they meet, we are talking about self-awareness. We're talking about self-love. We're talking about authentic love for yourself. But what happens next is what I want to talk about. It is just so profound what happens next. When you as an individual get to that point, that sweet spot, you become an inspiration to others. Others look up to you. They look up to you as a mentor. They look up to you as a role model. They look up to you as in, when I grow up, I want to be like this person. Why? If they were to articulate what it means, you will be surprised to hear it'll be about your personality, your mindset. It'll be about your characteristics. And it just snowballs from there because you continue to grow. You will not be the same person that you are today, 10 years from today. You will have grown. The experiences of life, they change you. They strengthen, they grow you, they stretch you, they even break you. But once you know who you are and you are true to your authentic self, you go deeper into self-awareness and in turn, self-love. You continue to grow. But then what stops us, guys? What stops us? Because there's something that always stops us. Inherently, something comes in and stops us. We are on this journey, we are doing a good thing. We are in 5th gear. We are cruising at a certain level, but something stops us. What is it that stops us? What is it that stops us? It could be that 10-year-old child in yourself showing up at that point of growth. This is normal. It's your limiting beliefs that come in, they check in because this is a new area. Your limiting beliefs only know the areas that are your go-tos, you know, your regular, that area for you that is your comfort zone, that area for you that is the known, not the unknown. So when you start pushing beyond that known, that is what stops us, those words in our heads. The 2 things that I picked today are the fear of not being accepted. That is one thing that will stop you from transcending and finding the alignment of your values and yourself. The fear of not being accepted. We are human, we want to be accepted, we want to be loved. The fear of being misunderstood, we all want to be understood. But for people to understand us, we need to know what we are all about. And then we need to speak it, we need to show it of ourselves. So I invite you once again to love yourself. Accept yourself and understand yourself before expecting it of others. It's as simple as that. Those voices will come into your head, but then you would have created a new narrative where you are accepting of self and that you're going to grow to the next level, that your understanding of self, you know what your work plan, your game plan is, and you're moving to the other level. And one way for this to happen, for you to accept yourself and understand yourself, is to be authentic to self. I really hope I am speaking to somebody here. Today we have done amazingly well on understanding what the authentic self is and practical ways that we can actually manifest in our lives. And our 3 takeaways, I never leave you without takeaways. Know your worth and manifest it. So you're knowing your pros and your cons, and you want to manifest it. You're living your life. You want to be able to thrive in this life of yours. Understand your shadow by naming it and taming it. There's no shame in that negative characteristic. The shame is when you push it under the carpet and then it explodes, it boils to the top, and then when you act, it is unacceptable. You want to be in a state of self-management, so that when your shadow needs to come to the fore, to the top, where it needs to brim out of that darkness, then you're in control of it. You can be able to name it, tame it, change the narrative. Talk to me about that, and I will be able to take you through a session. And the third but not least takeaway is create and connect with your inner circle. Create and connect with your inner circle. So important for you to know who's going to be in your inner circle and why do they need to be in your inner circle. What are you going to get out of them for them being in your inner circle? Well, back to the question that we started with, and I do hope now it makes so much sense. When someone says to you that they know themselves, what exactly comes to mind for you? Do you really think they know themselves? Do you know yourself? Can you think of your light and your dark sides? It's a very intriguing topic. And remember what Maya Angelou said, and I quote, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Just believe them the first time. This is amazing. What we want to do now is just thank you for being here for this episode. And I can see Jane Kuvuna says, you don't know how much you are talking to me right now. Thank you so much, Jane. We are speaking to you, and I'm so happy if we are able to touch at least one person, that this makes sense, that you need to know about yourself, your true identity, the person that you are, the person who is going to show up. This is very, very important. Well, that is it for this week, guys. Next episode, we will be on priority self-love. In the meantime, remember to like our Facebook page. Like it for all these regular updates for our next sessions. Visit our website. There's lots of great things over there. There's a blog that we write almost every week, and you want to be able to read it. Follow us on IG, which is at Lucy.Macridis, and then go into our YouTube and you'll get all these videos and more, and be able to subscribe and like and click on the notification button so that you can get to know when the next video is up. Let us continue to help building one another. And until next episode, when we talk about priority of loving self, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye now.